Hi everyone, I'm Sara and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet our Malibu Bikini Skirt. But don't panic, you don't have to have a bikini to wear one of these. This will go with any kind of suit. One piece, two piece, three piece, whatever piece, this skirt is perfect. And the neat thing about it is you can add as many rows as needed for the width of your body. And once we get the width done, you can add as many rows to the bottom as you want to make it as long as you prefer. So this bikini skirt will work for any body shape or size. You just have to do a tiny bit of math. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. The bikini skirt as written on the pattern measures 28 inches around and about 10 inches long. And if you make it that size, you're going to need about 3.5 ounces of Caron Cotton Cakes. Now, you don't have to make it that size, of course, and if you make it bigger, you're going to need more yarn. And if you make it smaller, you'll need less yarn. All right, and we'll talk more about the adjustments in just a minute. The yarn that I have chosen is the Caron Cotton Cakes, and I really like it for this project because it is 60% cotton and 40% acrylic, and I love the blend because if you use 100% cotton, it's going to absorb a lot of water and get a little bit droopy. But because it has that acrylic in there, it keeps its shape and doesn't absorb so much water. You know, at the pool or the beach, it's going to get splashed and wet, and you don't want a soggy, heavy skirt. You can make this out of acrylic as well, or any fiber, as long as it's a medium weight number 4 yarn. You can make it out of 100% cotton if you want to. Just keep it away from the water. So you need about 3.5 ounces, and that is 211 yards of your Caron Cakes or whatever blend of yarn that you would like. But also keep in mind, if you're going to make it bigger, you're going to need more yarn. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You need a needle just for weaving in ends and a pair of scissors. All right, let's talk about sizing. The way the pattern works is we're going to be stitching in rows across, and that's how you make the width of your skirt. 2 rows equal approximately 1 inch. So if your waist is 36 inches, you need to do 2 times 36 in order to get the width of your skirt, okay? So 2 rows equal approximately 1 inch, and that is for the width of your skirt. Now, once you get the main portion done with your rows, we're going to be adding the trim, and this is where you can add additional length. If you prefer a much longer skirt, you can continue to do these repeat rows for as many rows as you would like. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 31 chains. And remember, this is for all sizes because we're going to be stitching in rows, and the many rows as we stitch makes the width of our skirt. So 31 chains. I have chained my 31 chains. I do recommend that you chain this just a little bit loose because that's going to be the edge of your skirt and you don't want it puckered up on one side. We're going to stitch a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of these chains across. One double crochet in each chain, working all the way across. I have stitched one double crochet in each chain across. We began in the 4th chain from the hook, and our chain 3 counted as our first, so we have 29 double crochets. We're going to chain 3 and turn. We're going to place one double crochet in the next 4 stitches. Our chain 3 counts as 1, and we're going to stitch 1 in the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that makes 5 double crochets because our chain 3 counted as our first and we stitched 4. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then in the next stitch we're going to stitch our shell stitch. And our shell stitch is 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 1 and 2 double crochets, all stitched in the same stitch. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 1. We're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and stitch a shell stitch in the next. Again, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Chain 1, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1 double crochet in those last 5 stitches. And remember, we started in the 4th chain from the hook, and so our last double crochet goes in that chain 3. So we have 5 double crochets. And then, of course, we're going to chain 3. Let's get that on there. And so what we have for row 2 is 5 double crochets, chain 1, skip 3, shell stitch, chain 1, skip 3, 5 double crochets, chain 1, skip 3, shell stitch, chain 1, skip 3, and we end with 5 double crochets, and then we chained 3. For row 3, we've already stitched our chain 3. We're going to turn our work, and we're going to place 1 double crochet in those next 4 stitches because our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. Now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to single crochet in the chain 1 space of our shell. And chain 4. This brings us to the center where our 5 double crochets are. We're going to place a double crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, skip the next double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, and double crochet in that last double crochet of those 5. Now we're going to chain 4. We're going to single crochet in the chain 1 space of our shell stitch and chain 4. Now we're going to double crochet in each of these 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and chain 3. So for row 3, we have 5 double crochets, chain 4, single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 4, then we double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the center there, chain 4, single crochet in our shell stitch, chain 4, and then 1 double crochet in those last 5, and then chain 3. Okay, let's do row 4. We've stitched our chain 3 and turn. Again, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and so we're going to double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 1, and now we're going to place a shell stitch in our single crochet, and again that shell stitch is 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Chain 1, and now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of these 5 stitches. So 1 double crochet in the double crochet, 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, 1 double crochet in the double crochet, 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, and 1 double crochet in that last double crochet in the center. Chain 1. We'll stitch a shell stitch in that single crochet, so 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Whoops. Boy, my yarn is roly-poly today. Chain 1, and then 1 double crochet in those last 5 double crochets. And chain 3. Alrighty, let's take a look at that. We have our 5 double crochets, chain 1, shell stitch in the single crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet in each of those stitches. So we have 5 double crochets, chain 1, shell stitch in the single crochet, chain 1, and then 1 double crochet in each of those 5, and chain 3. For row 5, we're going to repeat what we did on row 3. Chain 3 and turn. Again, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and now we're going to double crochet in those next 4 stitches. We're going to chain 4. We'll single crochet in the chain 1 space of the shell stitch and chain 4. This brings us to those center 5 double crochets. We'll double crochet in the first one, chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the next. chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the next. Chain 4. We're going to single crochet in the chain 1 space of the shell stitch and chain 4. There we go. And now we'll just double crochet in those last 5 stitches. There we go. And chain 3. And so again, we have 5 double crochets, chain 4, single crochet, chain 4, then double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, 4 chains, single crochet, chain 4, and then 5 double crochets, chain 3. All right, let's do row 6. Row 6, you're just going to repeat what we did here on row 4. So chain 3 and turn. Again, 1 double crochet in the next 4. Chain 1, shell stitch in the single crochet, and again that's 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets, all stitched in that single crochet. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next 5 stitches, so double crochet in the double crochet in the chain 1 space, double crochet in the double crochet in the chain 1 space, and double crochet in the double crochet, and chain 1. Now we go to the single crochet and stitch our shell stitch, which again, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. And chain 1. And then we finish this row with 1 double crochet in these last 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Get in there. There we go. All right, and chain 3. So row 6 was exactly like row 4. 5 double crochets, chain 1, shell stitch, chain 1, 5 double crochets, chain 1, shell stitch, chain 1, and 5 double crochets, and chain 3. Now, I want to show you how this is going to work. This is the way we get the width of our skirt. And you'll do as many rows as needed for the width that you are making. So if you're making your skirt the width that I made mine, which is 28 inches, and I recommend you make it a little bigger than what you wear because you want it to sit sort of loose so that you can tie it around your waist. All right, so you're going to need to repeat rows 3 and row 4, alternating your rows for 49 more rows for the size 28 waist. Repeat rows 3 and row 4 for 49 more rows, or more if you need to make it wider, or less if you're making it for a smaller size. Just so you understand how the skirt works, we're stitching our rows this way, and each row determines the width. As we add more rows or less rows, this is the width around our waist. Okay? Our rows are going up and down, and we're doing as many rows as needed for the width of our waist around. And again, I do recommend that you make it a little bit bigger, maybe add in a couple extra rows just so it lays pretty around your waist with your bathing suit. Once you have completed as many rows as needed for the width of your skirt, we're going to stitch a solid row of double crochet. Now this is my swatch, and here is my actual skirt, and you're going to need to stitch a row of solid crochet. When you've stitched as many rows as needed, you need to make sure that you end on the row 3 repeat, where we have the 5 chain 4 single crochet, chain 4, the 3 double crochets with chain 1s, and repeat across, ending with those 5 double crochets. You want to have this row, row 3 repeat, as your last row. Okay, so we chain 3 and turn. We're going to place 1 double crochet in those 4 double crochets like we've been doing. Now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in this chain 4 space. So we'll stitch 1 and 2. 1 double crochet in the single crochet. 2 double crochets in the chain 4 space. One double crochet in the next 5 stitches. Two double crochets in the chain 4 space, 1 and 2. 1 double crochet in that single crochet, 2 double crochets in the chain 4 space, and then we'll end with 1 double crochet in these last 5 stitches. And so that gives you on the end of your skirt a solid row of double crochet. Let me show you on my actual skirt. This is where I started with my row of double crochets. I stitched all my rows, and this is where I did my last row of double crochets across. Now don't cut your yarn, because now we're going to stitch across the bottom of our skirt in order to add more length and this fun shell edge. After we've stitched our row of double crochets, we're going to turn our work and we're going to stitch a row of even single crochets all the way across the bottom of our skirt. And if you can stitch those in increments of 11 single crochets, your shells will lay a lot better. If you can't exactly, we can do a little bit of adjusting as we go, okay? Because when you're adding more rows, you're not always going to end up with the same amount of stitches, okay? So don't panic if you don't have it exactly in 11 single crochet increments. I'll show you how to adjust that just a little bit. So what we're going to do first is do a single row of single crochets across the bottom edge of our skirt. So I've got my swatch here again, and I went ahead and changed colors to a lighter blue just so you can see what I'm doing just a little bit better. All right, so what we're going to do is evenly single crochet across the bottom edge of our skirt. So we'll start with our chain 1 And the best way to do this is to try to get in the sides of the stitches and not the holes. Now there might be a place where you'll have to put those in a hole, but we want to really try to get them in stitches. You want to try to place them close but not bunched up, but not too far apart. And if you can get them in those increments of 11, that's fine. If you can't, I'll show you a couple of tricks you can do to get things evened up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, you're of course going to have a whole bunch more single crochets than I do. So, you're going to continue to work across the bottom edge of your skirt, working single crochets evenly all the way across. Alright, so I'm back to my swatch. I'm going to chain 1 because I've stitched all the way across my skirt and turn. We're going to chain 1, which I did. We're going to single crochet in the first single crochet and chain 1. We're going to skip the next 3, 1, 2, 3, and shell stitch in the next. And we're doing the same shell stitch, 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets in the same stitch, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, and shell stitch in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet stitch in the next. And so that's our repeat across. Okay, now if you get to the end of your row and you're off by a couple, you can always skip 3 or 2 or however many just to get you back to that corner. And what I would do if I'm off by 2 is I would put a single crochet in the last 2. If I'm off by more, I would just add a few more single crochets. If I'm short, I might just skip 1 or I might not skip at all just to make sure I end on that edge. Like here, if this is my edge, we normally skip 1. I might skip 2 and single crochet in the last 2. Okay, so don't panic if it's off by a couple. You can always sort of figure it out on the end. All right? So what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat those shell stitches, which is this blue row right here, as we've just done all the way across the bottom of your skirt. All right, let's do the next row. We're going to chain 4 and turn. Now, if you have a few extra stitches in here or you're short a couple, this is all going to come out even, and I'll show you how that works. We're going to double crochet in the first single crochet where we chained 4. We're going to chain 1 and move right over to the first chain 1 space of our shell stitch and stitch a shell stitch. and chain 1. So if somehow because it's really hard for it to come out perfect when you're doing an even row of single crochets, at the bottom of our skirt. So we have to sort of fudge it just a small amount. Okay, so if you have one extra stitch or one less stitch, it's going to come out fine because we have our V-stitch, which our chain 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and then we stitched a double crochet. Then we chained 1 and went right to the first chain 1 space of our first shell stitch, and then chain 1. Now we'll go to our single crochet and stitch a V-stitch, which is a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Chain 1, we'll go right to our next chain 1 space and stitch a shell stitch, which again, as we've been doing, is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. Chain 1, then you'll go to the next single crochet, and if you're at the end of your row, that's perfect because you want to put that V-stitch in that last stitch. All right, and it will flare just a little. We want it to kind of do that, and let me show you on the actual skirt. It's this row right here. We started with our chain 4, then double crocheted in the same stitch, chain 1, shell stitch, chain 1, V-stitch in the single crochet, and repeat all the way across, and then end with our 2 V-stitches. All right, so that is how that row works. Now, if you want to add more length to your skirt, what you will do is you'll repeat this over and over again. Okay, so you'll turn, you'll chain 1, you'll go right in this chain 1 space and stitch a V-stitch. Chain 1, and then you'll repeat all the way across what we have been doing for as many rows as you want to, if you want to add more length to your skirt. I didn't, I just did the one, but you can continue to repeat this as many rows as needed to add more length to the bottom of your skirt. All right, and you'll repeat that as many times as you want to. Once you've repeated that as many times as you want to, then we have the finishing row. So once you've done as many rows as you want, we finish off with this row here. This is our finishing row of shell stitches. So what you'll do is you'll single crochet in the first double crochet of that last row. Then you'll chain 3. Then you'll move to the chain 1 space of the next shell and you'll stitch 4 double crochets. No chain 1 in between the two. Just 4 double crochets. 1, 2, here's 3 and 4. And chain 3. Then you'll single crochet in the V-stitch in that chain 1 space and chain 3. Then you'll stitch 4 double crochets in the chain 1 space of the next shell stitch. Chain 3 and then single crochet in the next chain 1 space of the next V-stitch, and you'll repeat that all the way across, and when you get to the end you're going to single crochet in the last double crochet, and then you'll tie off and weave in your ends. All right, it's just a super simple shell stitch edge that gives the bottom of the skirt that extra flare that it's needed. All right, so let's look at that trim shell edge just to make sure you understand how it's done. All right, so here is our first row of shell stitches. Then the second row we did the V-stitches in between instead of single crochets. And you'll repeat this row here as many times as needed to add more length to your skirt. And then the finishing row, instead of doing a shell stitch with 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, we just did 4 double crochets. So we have a nice smooth shell in our end, and then we single crocheted in our V stitches. And that's the best way to add a lot more length to your skirt, by repeating that second row of shell stitches and then finishing off with this pretty edge here. Now we need to make a tie in order to hold our skirt on. I didn't want to do any buttons or anything that can't get wet, and a tie made out of the same yarn is super simple and works perfectly. And so all you're going to do is take 2 strands of the yarn that you're using, make a slip knot, and I like to add a little bit of tail on the end of it. That way I can make sure it's tied nice and secure when I'm done. And now we're just going to chain 60 chains. Now I'm not going to chain 60 since I already have my tie made. Okay, and so what you do is you chain 60, you cut your tie or your string, and then you're going to make a really good tight knot in the end of both ends. Try that again. Alrighty. You want to try to get it nice and close to the end, give it a good hard pull, and then just clip it. And then you'll do that to the other end as well. And this makes a really nice sturdy tie. Although this one isn't long enough, of course. I want to make sure that knot is nice and close, and sometimes when it's not, I just tie a second one just to make sure it's nice and close. We just don't want our chain to come undone. Here's the tie that I made. I secured those knots on the end so it's not going to come undone. And I don't like it really long, but if you want it to be longer, you can chain as many chains as you want to and make your tie a lot longer. Now, as far as the front and the back of this skirt, it's kind of up to you which side you like better. And once you do that, you're going to take the 2 ends at the top and put them together. Take your hook and go through. Now make sure you go through stitches and not a hole, okay? Because you don't want it to pull on a hole in between, okay? Then you'll just put it through like this on your hook, grab that tie and pull that through. And I like to bring the back through, like go down a couple and pull it through again. This way it's a little bit more secure than just at the top. There we go. And see, I'm having to kind of weave it through, but that's okay. You want it to be nice and snug. So here's where I came in. I'm going to go down 2 stitches and pull it through the front, because I don't want my tie to come out when I'm out playing. You know, I don't want to be walking along and have my skirt fall off. All right, so now I've got it on there. I'm going to try to even it out a little bit. And then I'm going to tie a knot, and then I'm going to tie a bow. And that's how easy it is to make the Malibu bikini skirt. You can make it for any body size, from child to adult, just by doing just a little bit of math. And the key to getting a good fit is to measure as you go. Because remember, we don't all stitch the same. And 2 rows equal 1 inch for me, but it might equal 1.5 inches, or maybe 1 inch. So take your time, measure as you go, and you can make a bikini skirt for everyone in your family.